Hey, gang, welcome back to the HOLOCRON Chronicles. Right here on the Secret Friends Unite podcast network. Our guest had a weird thing happen to his visual for a minute there, but it doesn't matter because we don't do video because that's not our thing. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is episode 135 here on the Secret Friends Unite podcast network. I am Charlie Carden, your Trek guy of West Michigan. Well, one of two, because I am, of course, joined by my regular number two Jedi guy, Peter Stein. Peter, good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
And welcoming back for the first time in many a great moon of Yavin, Mark Carabin, the Canerdian himself, back for this very special event. Mark, it does my eyes good to see your eyes. How are you?
I'm great. It is great to see both of you. It is great to be back on the show. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about in a minute. But it's great to be back. It's always good hanging with you guys and talking Star Wars. So I'm excited.
Hell yes. Well, the time has come. We're going to dig into The Mandalorian and Grogu, the first Star Wars cinematic release in 7 years, which is just, wow. It sounds like a lot, but when you think about the fact that there were decades between older films in the past, we're super spoiled. And of course, we've seen them on television, which is this is the first adapted Disney Plus television show that has become a movie. So we're going to get into all of that. That is the main focus of what we're talking about here today. But first and foremost, I always want to give some love to the wonderful people over on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon, over at patreon.com, Secret Friends Unite, where you do get great exclusive programming, including the Facts of Geek Life, a show that Peter and I are winding up, where we are talking about Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica. So if you love that show, that's a great place to tune in. All of our shows come out early on our Patreon, and there's some different benefits on our Discord as well. And as I was talking about before Peter and I got on, the Discord is a great place to sign up, even if you just have a free account, where all of our content lives in one place, one stream, and it's easy to find. Where in the real world, we have four separate streams because we know that people enjoy different things that we produce. So that's a great place to sign up just to be aware of what we're turning out. This is the way it works. Your first week is free regardless. It's half off your first month, and you stay on board for as little as $2 a month. We'd absolutely love to have you join us, even on a trial basis. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Okay, business out of the way, and we get into what they refer to on our beloved Weekly Planet podcast as the big movie. Again, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu dropped about a week before you're listening to this. Again, we're coming out the first week of June, just based on our schedule. But these are the basics. If you have never heard of The Mandalorian and you don't know who Grogu is, you just know Baby Yoda, we are going to bring you to righteousness on this. So this is a 2026 science fiction action adventure film directed by Jon Favreau, of course, well known for many, many things across the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including launching the damn thing back in 2008 with Iron Man, and of course creating this series with Dave Filoni, who is an absolute giant in modern Star Wars. And Noah Clure was their collaborator, produced by Lucasfilm and distributed by Walt Disney, part of the Star Wars franchise and a continuation of The Mandalorian television show that it aired on Disney Plus between 2019 and 2023. Pedro Pascal, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, is Din Djarin / The Mandalorian, also portrayed on set by Brendan Wayne as the physical person, and Lateef Crowder, who we have had as a guest on our Spotlight, very, very nice guy, is the stunt performer for The Mandalorian, alongside the dreamy Jeremy Allen White and Sigourney Weaver, who is also dreamy in her own way. Don't want to put her down. Filming began in California in the summer of 2024 and completed that December. Casting was revealed around and after filming, including the return of various characters from The Mandalorian and other Star Wars media. The series composer Ludwig Göransson returned to score the film, and holy crap, that man is a genius. The film premiered on May 14th of 2026 at the famous Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, and was released elsewhere on May 22nd. The film has received mixed reviews, with critics praising the score and Pascal's performance while criticizing, pretty typically, the plot, visuals, and action sequences. So, we're going to do this as we do films over on Secret Friends Unite, Oops All Thunderdome, which are a topic-based show. Marquis of Queensberry rules. I don't know where I got that, but I love how it rolls off the tongue. We are going to give each of us will give a top-line review with spoiler-free input, and then we're going to launch into a spoiler-filled spoiler cast of the film. So I highly encourage you here at this point, if you've not seen the film, give it a pause. Go see the movie, come back and listen to us ramble. I'll give just a few more little factoids. As of the time I pulled this, it's pulling about a 64% on the Rotten Tomato meters, which makes it fresh, but kind of just barely. And 88% audience score, the popcorn meter, of over 8,000 ratings. So I consider that to be not so bad. As of the end of Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, its domestic opening, which also does include Canada, which is where our lovely friend Mark is from, pulling at about 102 million domestic on a budget of 166 million. I believe another 63 million coming in from the global audience. So they're going to make their money. It's not a crushingly huge success, but it could be. It's early now. So. All right, so we're going to do this now. We're going to do a top-line review, as I said, giving that spoiler-free 1 to 10 score. We'll then jump into spoiler territory with favorite moments, missed opportunities, weird plot holes, etc. will be our second point, and then we'll wrap it up with final thoughts. Mark, you are our guest. Let's have your top-line review with a 1 to 10 score, spoiler-free, of The Mandalorian. Cut loose.
Spoiler free. I thought this was good. I thought I had a fun time with it. I thought it was a great summer popcorn movie. I wasn't looking or expecting Andor levels of deepness, and I think that is what they delivered. A lot of the stuff that I thought was cool, it was in the trailer. So not to be spoilery, but seeing Zeb was great. Meeting some new characters was fun, expanded the world a little bit, but it didn't break any crazy new ground, but it's also not a saga film. So I think we'll get into this later. But I'm going to say, I'm going to go like flippity floppity on here. For a number score, I'm feeling somewhere between like a 7 and an 8, maybe a 7.5, which I think is pretty darn good. I might even lean closer to an 8. I'd love to see this movie again and kind of feel how I'm feeling now that I've seen it and know what to expect and just go in to see. But somewhere around there, 7.5 to an 8.
Okay.
I think it's not a perfect 10, but like I had a damn good time seeing it.
Man, that's where it's at. That is where it's at, Peter.
I thought that there was a lot of good stuff in here. It was, classic Lucasfilm where it has a lot of really good special effects. Like Zeb looked really good CG. The other CGI character was really, really well done. I think they actually had some practical effects with him too.
Yeah, there was a lot of practical effects as I understand it.
So like that stuff was really good. The acting was good. I not gonna lie, I struggled with the plot a bit. I know that's kind of like the generic thing to complain about. But
I mean, and as the top line said, that was also critics' reply as well. So
without getting into details, it was just I wasn't sure the point. Like, it's not that we didn't have something that was going on and we had fun things going on and there was a bit of a direction, but I didn't see what the end state was that made it different. So for that was a little harder for me. So I put it kind of at a 7. Like, it was there was a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of good Star Wars things in there, but it was just a little small potatoes for me in terms of like it felt like we were trying to do something bigger, but then it ended up being something smaller. So, but I'll get into that when we get into spoiler territory. But yeah,
small things in big packages. Well, I recognize the challenge that they were faced with. You're coming off of a 7-year gap. You're coming off of a Star Wars film. And again, Mark, you and I in the distant past covered The Rise of Skywalker back in 2019. Peter and I will cover it again because it's been so long, just from a different point of view. Pun intended. So. But that film is generally disliked by a big chunk of the fan base. People really thought they ended that sequel trilogy with a whimper, and it was really very conflicted. And then Star Wars disappeared into television, and they produced some stuff that is really loved, and as expected, they produced some stuff that really is not loved. That's what you get. So it was an uphill battle to bring it back to the screen, but I'm tilting on Peter's side this way. They didn't really bring the thunder in a way that I feel like they really had to come on strong, and maybe they really didn't. And I'll get into that, when we get into spoilers as well. And I have a very unsurprisingly Star Trek-ish kind of comparison that really falls in lockstep. And you guys may have seen it in my notes, but I'll talk about when we get there. So if you love the show, boom, you're into it. And we all love the show. So there were parts of this that we just really glommed onto. I got it. But if you're looking for spectacle, if you're looking for scope, if you're looking for it to, as Peter said, like what's the point? What are we going for? I think you might find this to be somewhat lacking. So I was a little harder than you guys, but I wasn't super far off. I was like a 6.5, maybe a 7 for this. I think they could have done more. They could have brought more in, and maybe playing it a little too safe potentially. But there were parts of it, April and I saw it on Thursday. There were parts of it that she absolutely adored, and I adored it right there along with her. People were chuckling at the funny parts as opposed to groaning. And there were some absolutely great set pieces. There's no doubt about it. So,
I will say again, mostly non-spoilery or very non-spoilery, because there are clips and stuff out on YouTube. I think the one I saw was maybe Vanity Fair, but anyway, it was with the creators like Sigourney Weaver, Pedro Pascal, Favreau, Filoni, doing like these internet questions kind of thing. And it seems from those and from other interviews that this was intentionally small potatoes.
Okay.
There were those things that people have been theorizing for years of like, and what the shows have set up. So spoiler for the shows, but like Thrawn is back. They've introduced Ahsoka. They've introduced the Rebels crew. We saw Zeb in this, even in the trailers and stuff. So again, no spoilers, but it seems intentionally small potatoes. It seems intentionally
absolutely was. Yeah.
Condensed thing. Like there were very, very conscious decisions not to make this a cameo fest, not to make this a team up movie aside from like Zeb having kind of that supporting role.
Right.
But there was a conscious decision not to bring in the rest of the Rebels crew, not to bring in any of the OG trilogy characters and do some recasting. This was like a play it safe movie by design, and going in kind of anticipating and knowing that, I think I had an appreciation or at least an expectation not to be like, this is going to set the world on fire. Like this is going to be like an Ant-Man versus an Avengers movie. And I'm okay with that.
That's a very apt comparison. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And to your point, it needed to be safe, because to be like, hey, we're going to bring in this both barrels and all the pistons firing backwards. It's going to be the super movie. And here's Thrawn and here's Han, Luke, and Leia recast, which that was my dream. But you're right. It's wrong. It's not right for this. So I will absolutely give you that. Most definitely. So, all right. Are we ready to cut loose with all the spoilers and give the serious thought, balls to the wall, talk about some serious Mandalorian stuff? Mark, talk to me about some of your most favoritist moments.
I think, like, broad strokes, I think this was a fantastically condensed season. And yes. I like the approach of turning this into a movie, and you could see there may have been some seasonal structure things there that they got rid of the filler. Even though Mandalorian seasons aren't super long, there can still be some of those like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you've got another mission to go after this guy, and then this shit happens, and now you got to go find these guys, and then this shit happens, and then you meet Lizzo, and then this shit happens, and then you got to go, and it's
And
like
then you go to Space Boston.
Space Boston.
right? Like entertaining for a season, but like I get why they can trim some of that and condense it into like a 2-hour spectacle popcorn kind of movie that again is more Ant-Man than the Avengers. And if you can go in expecting that, now I think that's the problem though, is we're used to and have been trained to expect Star Wars on the big screen to be a spectacle.
Right.
And then
True.
this kind of stuff to be TV. So I think they played this safe on purpose, and I think they set the budget this low on purpose so it would make the money back, not going to blow off the roof off or anything like that. I think this was a smart strategic play to get us used to the idea that there can be some B-tier Star Wars movies. They're not going to have the opening crawl. Not every single one of them is going to be the end of the world stakes that we're used to. They're going to have those big saga events. We'll see those, but I think this movie is getting people ready for something like maybe Star Wars. Was it Starfighter with Ryan Gosling?
Next summer. I
don't think that movie. Again, I don't think we're going to see like a Emperor level threat. I think that's going to be like a really good pilot found a kid and has to get him back somewhere. Or has to like do something. Like, I think it's going to be another one of these kind of like two people on a mission type movies. Like, father, son, or, whatever kind of dynamic.
Fish out of water kind of deal. Yeah.
Right. Like I think this is a good way to set it up, because if you went straight in with Gosling and like all these new characters, at least this was like, you're used to 3 seasons of Mando. It's a character that people love. Baby Yoda, Grogu, right in the title card, going to attract people. If you did this kind of release with a complete unknown cast, now Ryan Gosling's going to create some buzz around something anyway. But like, I think if you went a smaller stakes movie with a franchise or part of the franchise that people aren't familiar with at all, I think it'd be a little riskier. So I think this is a smart strategic play from Lucasfilm to say like, not every Star Wars movie in theaters is going to be a crazy, massive, mind-blowing event. Like, we'll have some of those, but like, we're also okay with this. We're also going to have like Taika Waititi do something weird,
right.
Like, we're going to have like that kind of stuff. I think they're trying to get us used to that kind of thing in Star Wars, and hopefully Filoni's ready to like explore some different parts of the universe. So like, I appreciate the movie for doing that and for kind of setting those expectations. And like I said, any interview I've seen seems to be indicating that like this was very thought out. Like, I think at one point Filoni was like, no lightsabers. So we had like, and a friend of mine was in the theater when I was watching this, and we both came out at the same time and was like, I thought that was great. And he was like, they could have added lightsabers. And he said it jokingly because he knew to not expect that. But I said like the fight between Mando and Embo, who was amazing in live action. Holy shit.
Yeah. That was one
of my favorite bounty hunters.
It was from the Toon. That was from Clone Wars, right? As I've said.
He was from Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different dog. So I'm assuming, the dogs have dog like,
it's like 40 years later, so I would expect.
Always, but always trains.
He just got into some chocolate or something. I figured, absolutely.
Yeah. But I love that species. I love his dynamic, and he's just a badass. And so really cool. But that fight, I was like, that they could have lit up some of those blades or something. But but I thought that was a fantastically choreographed fight, and it was,
It was.
literally light up blades away from being like a lightsaber battle. So I
Yeah.
really thought that was cool. I thought they did some really interesting things in this movie that maybe people won't pick up on. But like I thought it was great seeing Phil Tippett get back and do some actual stop motion stuff.
So good with that, those Azelians and Zelians, I think. Azelians.
Not only but so they were practical puppets, but the stop motion stuff they did, I think the walker and those two giant big hulking droids were actually stop motion with a little CGI over them. So they were practical CG or practical stop motion, like Phil Tippett coming back and doing some stuff effects, which I thought was great. The Jarek battle, the battle in the arena from the chess match in
pure gold.
New Hope, like, come on, you can't watch that and not just geek out over you hear
my brother and I absolutely would like the lift over the head and
and that's the point when it got me, because I was like, these are all familiar. Where do I know all these creatures from?
I knew at the minute they opened up. Once they opened the force fields,
it took a sec for them to pull back for me to see they were standing on the board. Like I didn't get that right away.
See, I did, because they called it a Jarek match, and I was like, I know what this is. And then they pulled the camera out when Mando was fighting him, and I was like, okay. And then the thing opened up, and you saw the first like pancake face critter with the club step out, and I was like, I know what this is.
And that was
got on way quicker than I did, man.
Those were so crazy, because today we're recording this on May 25, which is real Star Wars Day. This is the day in 1977 that Episode 4 came out. It's also the day that Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, came out, and Solo, which was the last, which is a film that they're drawing a lot of comparisons from this film back to Solo. But much to Mark's point, by playing it safe the way they did with Solo, because Solo was a fucking train wreck. They made a movie. Kathleen Kennedy got pissed at Lord Miller, fired him, trashed their movie, brought in Ron Howard. They shot most of it again, inflating the budget to like $1 gajillion. So that film could never be profitable. That being said, that was my May the 4th movie that we watched, and I still enjoy it very much. I still think it's pretty damn good.
Fine movie. Yeah, it's
really good.
But there was no way for them to really make it be profitable unless it was a crazy blockbuster, which it was not.
No, and again, doing a movie that's got some jarring recasting. Now we're kind of used to recasting,
right?
That was the first time I think we had really seen like a big recast for someone doing a Harrison Ford-esque impression and that kind of stuff. And with all the controversy surrounding it, like there was no one really recast in this movie. There was no, there was none of that controversy stuff. This movie could just be fine.
Right.
And it didn't have any of the bullshit that Solo did. Like Solo was a perfectly fine movie. But again,
so much controversy.
This, not huge stakes. This was a Solo movie. Yeah. And Solo wasn't nearly as bad as the controversy kind of made it seem.
I think it probably also really benefited, since we're still talking about Solo and then Rogue One, which was the other Solo movie, is that those were both prequels or in between quills, if you prefer. Now, Rogue One is universally beloved. They did an incredible job, but it really was a story jammed in between the big, just kind of teetered right up to the beginning of Episode 4. I think they did it well. Where Solo, a lot of people, it may be a fine movie, but much to Peter's point, what they said earlier, why? Why did they make this movie? What ground does this move? How does this set up something else in the franchise, with a main character being Han Solo, portrayed by Harrison Ford, who will never do Star Wars again and we'll never see his version of that? What does it really set up? If it's successful, are there going to be other movies in the series, so on and so forth? So the beauty of this is that it's a continuation. It's characters that are pretty well liked. One thing that I really drew down on that I enjoyed is that I like that opening crawl. It had, as pointed out by Screen Crush Ryan Airy, who's a friend of the show, pointed out in his video, is that it's very similar to the screen the title card you got out of Ahsoka,
Yeah.
which just gives you very basic facts. It's not inside baseball. It tells your commoner or your normal person who's seeing the movie, this is what's going on.
I
So
do have
let's say
one
it's
quibble
somebody-
with it, though.
Oh, okay.
I have one quibble.
Let me you're next then. Let me
Just
circulate now.
just really quick.
Please.
Don't use Apprentice because it throws people off. Because it has too many Jedi connotations.
Yeah,
That's it. It's very minor, but yeah.
That's fair. I didn't even pick up on this. But in this perfect world where someone was subject to Baby Yoda fever between now and 2019, but let's say maybe they didn't really check the show out, or they saw clips or whatever it is, they don't know what it's about. That person can be like, I want to see Baby Yoda in the movie. Go see this movie, see that title card. They are all set. There's nothing like super inside baseball in this movie that you really had to have seen the show to understand. Would you agree, or am I forgetting something?
No, I think so. Yeah, and I think Apprentice may have been used purposefully because of the Jedi connotation, because Grogu's really balancing. He's really walking that thread.
I get that, but because the phrasing with the adjective his apprentice, Din Djarin is not a Jedi. That's my quibble.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I completely agree. I wonder if they did throw that in to just kind of like.
They probably did. I just think it was maybe not the best idea, but it's not how I would have done it. But
could apprenticing mean more the Mandalorian?
Absolutely. My point is just in Star Wars context, when we hear apprentice, it's always Jedi. That's my only point. I'm not saying like this is the worst thing ever.
But it gives that like Force user like, come my apprentice, like that.
Right. Yeah. And that's
connotation.
particularly out there now because of, Maul Shadowlord, which has wrapped up. So that's very much in the zeitgeist of those who might not understand. Peter, some things that you absolutely adored. Fire away.
All right. I thoroughly loved Rada the Hutt. I thought that he was really well acted. Some people were like, why he speak English? I thought it was fine. Because in part...
Have we not seen Zero?
Yeah, there's also
the
Zero
Truman Capote of Hutts.
Yeah,
right.
But Rada was speaking English the whole time, which was great because we could understand him the whole time. We didn't have to read subtitles.
Yeah.
But he also was like, he was a Hutt, but he had character. He wasn't one-dimensional. There was actually a lot more going on with him. I thought it was interesting. Also, seeing like a ripped Hutt was definitely a different thing.
Well, it's Jeremy Allen White. What else are they going to do? They gave him his eyes too.
Well, they gave him Jabba's eyes, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
he had Jabba's eyes and Jabba's nose, and the shape of Jabba's head, which was I thought was fun.
With the big, he had the big tattoo on the back of his head. Where
he had
it on his forearm, which I forget sometimes.
Yeah, he had the cartel mark. So I thought I thought Rada was great, really, really well done. All of the starship stuff was really, really cool. Shot really well. Let's see. Obviously, there were some real good performances. I did like seeing Nal Hutta in live action for the first time.
Yeah.
Because we saw a little bit of it in the Clone Wars, and I think a little bit in the Bad Batch, but that was it.
Yeah.
But it was pretty on point with what we've seen in that. I thought it was really, really funny how we had turbo laser batteries out of Empire at War. That was really hilarious to me. Because I recognize those.
Working those back.
I will those weird little things in.
I will admit I got thrown looking at Nal Hutta. I'm like, well, this just looks like a bog or stuff. I thought these guys were big crime lords. Stopping to forget, and this was pointed out in Screen Crushes in Ryan's video, and then I remembered back from reading my more recent canonical Star Wars comics that all of the big crime lord shit is on the moon of Nar Shaddaa. That's what I forgot about. So Nal Hutta itself is just like,
it's where they live.
Kind of a wilderness. Yeah. Right. Where it's like, it looks like the swamp from, the never ending story. And so you see Artax, he didn't run through that part of the swamp. What did you guys think about the whole 10 or 15 minutes of Grogu having his running around trying to keep Mando from dying, building him
to meet
hut and shit.
Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I thought meeting Miracle Max's cousin Miralax was interesting. Because that's for sure what looked like Mando did when he woke up. So,
well, he did pissed himself a little bit. What do you think? Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think that that hut was made out of? It had that particular shade of brown.
I thought it was such a swing and a risk for them to take, like you said, a full 10, 15 minutes of basically no dialogue. Like, he did meet the dude in the swamp house and all that kind of stuff. But like,
get that fish.
For the most part, he's running with the Anzellians. He's having his little moment. I almost thought for a second he was going to see like a Force Ghost Yoda or something like that, but he had his Yoda moments. I thought the focus on Grogu and him being more than an accessory, him being a hero, earned his spot in that title.
Yep.
Evolved it from the show. It's not just the Mandalorian anymore. It is the Mandalorian and Grogu for a reason. And that 10 to 15 minutes was the reason. And I thought it was so well done. It was so engaging and funny. And again, no dialogue in a movie is wildly risky and something that is very much, to me, reminiscent of some kind of a weird swing that like Pixar might pull off, or one of those Disney studios that like gets applauded for taking those kind of weird risks in like an action-packed, crazy movie like this, that we just said, like, thank goodness that like Rada spoke and we didn't have to read subtitles. Like, this was just like, no, let's just be silent. Let's just do this and have this a silent film essentially, and just let Ludwig do his thing with the score and make it the most beautiful moment in the film, and just have this and let this 50-year-old infant figure shit out on his own and come into his own and rescue this dude and prove that they're a duo, not necessarily like a babysitting caper kind of thing anymore. So I thought that was brilliant.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So the Anzellans, the bad baby. And those voiced by the lovely woman who was Moaning Myrtle in the Harry Potter.
I wondered that while I was watching it, and my wife and I were watching and saying, like, do you think they're all Moaning Myrtle, or do you think they've got like 4 people in a booth just copying her? And like, she was likely one of them, because she
got 4 paychecks that way. But the bits with them in their little speeder, like, that is beautiful. They're flying in their little speeder and Grogu's in the back. So he's like the big jock on the football team, and they're like little soccer. Each one of them is the place kicker. And then they get in their little ship and fly it from here.
Full size power switches and buttons on this inky dinky little starship.
I know. And at the
we knew what was happening. We knew what was going to happen. And still, I don't know about you guys, but the theater that I was in still absolutely burst out laughing when Mando got to that ship and was just like,
I can't go.
What am I supposed to do with this? Like,
I carried on my back. You guys just carry me up.
There, we saw Grogu barely fit in the thing. It was like, he's never going to fit that ship. Why are they running through the forest? Did they have another ship? Did they bring something else? It's like, no, we knew what to expect, and it still got a laugh. I thought that was so fun.
It was I absolutely loved it. Oh, you guys, excuse me, had mentioned Zeb was great. I remember when I saw Zeb and thought it was a total misnomer when we saw him in Mando season 3, because I thought his fate from Rebels is that he ran off to discover his people in the far reaches, but then he's back. So I'm sure there's an easy way to explain
it. He did, but it was kind of explaining he was kind of going back and forth, because he did take Callus at some point, implication being he's kind of going back and forth doing things.
When he gets some PTO. Yeah. Super dumb MCU connection. The warlord in the cold open is Mr. Delmar, who ran the bodega in Spider-Man Homecoming, which Peter and I just talked about this week.
That's where I recognized him. Thank you.
Peter and I just talked about that in our summer Spider-Man run-up over on the SFU Prime podcast. So that was cool. I guess I didn't realize that. So again, I'm going to thank Ryan Airy for that. So thanks for pointing it out. All right, let's segue into talking about missed opportunities, weird stuff, weird plot holes, etc. So, Mark, what's something bizarre that you're like, why did they do that?
Yeah. I off the top of my head, it's hard to pick something because I think that I kind of did wish it was more. Like as much as I've defended the movie for being fine at what it is, like after 7 years, I did kind of want an explosion on screen. So I kind of wish this came after some other big movie. I want Star Wars to have stakes again. I want Star Wars to move forward. This is, where are we now? 10 years after Return of the Jedi? 8
just
years
about
after, something around there?
7 to 10. Yeah, we'll say. Yeah.
We kind of know. Like, it's great that they're filling in this little bit of time, and Baby Ray's off somewhere at this point, and Luke's doing his thing, and the OT crew are doing their thing. But like, also, who gives a shit? Because we kind of know where it finishes now.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of wish they had a flash forward and did something more than an A to B kind of narrative with this. And you talked, there was so much talk about like Grogu outlasting Din and Din not being there this whole time. And I didn't think Din should die in this movie. I know that was speculated a lot, but I was kind of hoping there would be, like, if they told this whole movie through the lens of like Grogu's telling some foundlings when he's older, like go 100 years in the future, 200 years in the future, have a shot of Grogu. Is he a Mandalorian? Is he a Jedi? Is he both?
Right.
What's happening? And if the whole thing was told in a perspective of like, here's how we took down the Hutts. This is my first mission that I did something, and he's telling some foundlings. I think it's a missed narrative opportunity to just give this a little bit more stakes. Tell the exact same damn story, but add 3 minutes of Grogu as an adult, 200, 300, 400 years in the future. I don't care. Make it far enough in the future that it's not going to matter at all. It's just a fun little narrative thing that gives this some more weight, that gives this a little bit without changing a damn thing about the story. Have the exact same script, but bookend it or do something with something that it's Grogu in some Mando gear, but he's flying with Hu Yang and there's lightsabers around or something. Like, do something that gives it a little bit more narrative connectivity and makes it more interesting. Yeah. And makes me say like, dude, you have to see this. You have to see the mid-credit scene, or you have to see the bookend on this. You like right now, like, if you love the show, great, go see it. It's going to be a fun time. Mm-hmm. If you think Baby Yoda's cute and you don't even know that his name is Grogu, it's still going to be fine. But like, I think there's a missed opportunity there just to have a little bit more interest in some sort of narrative storytelling, rather than this was very much just A to B. And it was an entertaining A to B, but like, give it some more weight.
We painted our numbers. I think, because I was describing this to my partner Kurt, who we have a comment from in a little bit, because he went to go see it. He went to go see it over the weekend as well. I said I think it was 2/3 of a great story that kind of falls apart in the last act. That it's just it gets too A to B then. It's like, it's not doing anything surprising. They have a big showdown. You really know how it's going to go. Nothing really interesting happens there. My big missed opportunity was that the only supporting cast that we got from the show was those damn X-Wing pilots, who are not characters we have anything vested in. No Bo-Katan, no Boba, no Ahsoka, which would have been a whole can of worms. It would be a whole can of worms.
Sense at all.
But no Fennec, and then it would make no sense. I know it would make no sense to have a recasted Han, Luke, and Leia in this movie. But I was like, it would give me joy. But if there is going to be an Avengers style team up movie in the future where they all take down Thrawn, I want it to be more 2012 Avengers, not the absolute clusterfuck that the Justice League was. Right? Let's try to jam it all in. You know, it's putting 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. So but maybe that's not their goal anymore. And I hope it's not, because I don't think
I still do
they
think
could
that
do
could
it.
work very well just purely by having Zeb in this movie. I think that was a strategic play to say, hey, Thrawn's here. We need to call in Zeb. Like, let's say, the Ahsoka cast makes its way back
Ahsoka-verse,
or whatever.
Right.
They say, Thrawn's here. We've got to stop him. Where's Zeb? Oh, he's hanging out over with these guys. Cool. Zeb, we got to stop. Zeb goes, dude, I know like the badass bounty hunter. He's going to help us out. 1 second.
I'll bring my gang.
Call.
Right.
Then you got Rhoda in there as well, potentially. Like they are rounding out an Avengers cast with one simple phone call away from Zeb being like, yo, I got a crew. Meet up over here.
Pretty much.
And bring it over to the crew that's all hanging out now that Ezra's back and hanging out on that ship with Mrs. Obi-Wan Kenobi and the rest of them. I know, Peter, what do you think? What was lacking for you?
I think, and I know that I said small potatoes, and I don't mean that like, oh, I needed like big things, but I think for me the thing that was missing was steaks. Like steak, like
not
like meat on a grill, but like danger of failure. Like
the barbecue scene.
Purpose and danger of failure. So like in the beginning of the film, Mando's working with the New Republic. Cool. Why?
Money. Because he's bounty hunter, right?
But he's not doing it for money, because there's multiple times throughout the film where he's like, don't pay me. Don't pay me.
Well, they gave him that fancy ship.
Yeah, they give him the ship.
Which was great to see,
he even says like, oh, that's too much. So it's not about the money. So
it's kind of a Boba Fett thing where we could never figure out what he wanted out of what he did in his show.
Honestly, is he has a kid. I seriously think that the Mandalorian's motivation for cleaning up the galaxy is the same motivation for cleaning up Navarro. Like, just I have a kid that I got to take care of. I want to leave this universe better than I found it.
But you literally could have said that with one line. And they didn't even say that.
Absolutely, I think they should have.
So because there wasn't a clarity as to why he was doing what he was doing, and I think that they needed that, and that would have given emotional stakes, more emotional stakes when Din was wounded and when Grogu was trying to save him, and I think that would have actually helped with the emotional weight of the narrative of the film, because it didn't feel like there was an emotional narrative weight to the film. And that's kind of my biggest gripe about the film, is that there wasn't that stake of like, we're really rooting for them to do something in particular for the character, not for like some generic thing, but for the character. Like I want Grogu to grow in some way, and we get a little bit of that, but it's not telegraphed at the beginning, which you don't have to telegraph it all the time, but.
The closest they come is right at the end when Sigourney Weaver says something. It's like, he says like,
really,
I'm not
really
part of your rebellion. And she's like, you sure about that?
Yeah, sure.
Are you? Aren't you?
Like, are you sure about that? Like,
sure, Mando.
It was that line. That was basically the only kind of.
But that's the only thing. But you didn't leave it.
Marcia Brady.
Yeah. Why'd you not do it at the beginning?
Yeah,
and right. Like that. That's kind of my biggest gripe about the film, is that we didn't have that, and then in like the final confrontation, I didn't feel like there was any danger of anything going wrong.
That was my point about that third act. It just seemed like, very, very safe.
Well, because like, we got it. And like, I get the idea of the New Republic showing up, like, surprise, they're here to help their friends. Okay, cool. But we get an explanation of how they justified, just suddenly attacking Nal Hutta, where it's like, well, they picked a side and they picked the wrong side.
It was a double cross.
Okay.
Right.
That kind of works. But we didn't, but like no X-Wing went down. We didn't feel like there were like the Hutts did not feel dangerous. against the New Republic. And we do know from the past that the Hutts are dangerous, like even to the Empire in the original trilogy. So it was just a little like, there felt like there was an imbalance in terms of like, the fans are like the fans understand a certain way. And so we're banking on that understanding that the Hutts are dangerous, but we're not showing it. And that kind of does a disservice for those who might not know as much that this is a big deal that this happened. So that's my big, like, so there's not really it's not a plot hole. I'm not like, the plot was fine, like how it structured, how it flowed, how it ended, all of that. It was just, I don't think it was framed in a way to kind of pull that the tension or the stakes out so that it was forefront in your mind and you're on the edge of your seat going like, oh no, there was never a moment in the theater when I was like, oh no, they could actually kill somebody. Someone could die. Like, I'd never had that moment. And to be fair, not every film needs that, but I never really had that moment of like, this guy is freaking dangerous. And like, this is going to this could go horrifically wrong. In the back of my head, I know it's not, but this could go horrifically wrong. The closest we had was Embo. That was it.
Yeah.
And that was a good fight, but that was the closest we got. And as bad as it might,
go ahead. Yeah.
As bad as it might sound, I think some of that had to do with, there's not a nice way to say this. Some of it might have to do with, I love this, man. I don't want to say this. The score, the score was heavily on, there were the themes, and it was there was a lot of sound, and it was filling a lot of the background, but it didn't. And to be fair, you've probably heard me say this before. I have my particular opinions on how music is used in film, and we didn't have a lot of different leitmotifs or things to help tell the story. We had the main Mando theme, we had Grogu's theme, and I think there was a Hutt theme, but that was it. And so we didn't have we didn't have that musical story in our ears to help like sell someone's getting the upper hand.
Yeah. We need the Imperial march.
Yeah.
You can't have all twin sons on Tatooine. You need some like music that you hear and you're like, this guy's gonna kill people.
Right.
Or like, when they're running from the battle droids, they're like, we had like the Mandalorian theme swelling epically. It's like, okay, this is good guy running from an explosion, but do you want to need to be afraid for them?
Yeah.
It's good guy running from explosion, not bad guy chasing good guy.
Yeah. It's sunglasses thing blowing up behind me, not
cool
guys walk away from explosions.
So
I like that we're basically saying the same thing. Like, we don't have an issue with the plot itself.
No.
It's giving it a bit more weight.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's like a hard fix.
No.
Realistically, you're saying like add a couple of lines. I'm saying add a few lines, like, or like a different framing. Like it's literally just like we're talking two very similar versions of this, and adding more weight can be done in a million different ways. And I think you're onto something there. Charlie, I spoke about what comes after the Empire. What was Emperor Palpatine holding back? We talked about this years ago on this show, and wanting to see that. And Peter, I think you just nailed it right there. Of like, the Hutts had 1,000-year crime boss reign. They had this dynasty for 1,000 years. They were a threat that even the Empire was scared of.
Yeah.
I think they deserved a bit more weight than that.
To show up and get smushed.
Yeah. It's kind of like as much as I loved the Book of Boba Fett, is what I complained about the Book of Boba Fett, is we didn't get that scope, right? We had, here's the Hutt twins. Are they just a couple of petty crime bosses? Are they the head of the whole damn thing? Like, what's going on here? And so we just didn't get that feeling.
And to be fair, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we got an answer for that here either.
We did not know.
Right, what happens from it.
So this could not be, this might not be the end. This may be setting up exactly what we want.
It might. The only thing that we got was a quick, well, it wasn't a throwaway one. There was a little bit of conversation about it, but I saw it this morning, so they're still percolating in my brain. Okay. There was a line from Rada talking about the twins where he was like, my aunt and uncle want to kill me because I'm the heir apparent to Jabba's throne.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there was something there. What that means in context of the world is unclear, but that line was there, and they could go somewhere with that.
Because it gives them a bit more clout, a bit more weight, but doesn't necessarily say that that's the be all end all. Like there could still be someone that Jabba was scared of and that's hiding in the shadows. And now that the twins are out of the way, this guy's out for blood.
Yeah.
And
like Gargantua the Hutt. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Like, but could do their own thing, could be helping Thrawn do something like this. This could be planting some seeds and doing some things that several years from now, we're watching another movie and going, oh shit, they set that up back in 2026 when we were talking about Mando and none of us saw it, you know?
Okay.
I mean, I keep expecting them to do something that leads to kind of for those who are familiar with the expanded universe, because they're pulling so much from Heir to the Empire for Thrawn stuff. I keep expecting them to do something kind of like, if you're familiar with Talon Card and how all of the smugglers are set up in those series of books.
Which is what we've been talking about and talk about the comics.
Yeah, I keep kind of expecting something like that to happen. And if this is what we think it is, where they're taking down the Hutt leadership as a whole, that would allow for a council of smugglers to kind of break apart an underworld empire. So maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know, but that could be.
Fascinating.
I try to view this in the context of like A New Hope, where A New Hope was a good standalone movie, great standalone movie, amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like, we didn't really see the Emperor.
No,
we didn't really see the broader universe. We didn't really see what, we knew there was a Death Star. We knew it was bad. They took out the Death Star. Congratulations. Thank you. Now I'm not saying that like this movie has the same weight or the same, like status as A New Hope, but A New Hope was definitely made better by Empire and subsequently Return of the Jedi. And I think it's the trilogy as a whole that makes Star Wars even what it is today.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this in a few years could be our New Hope, that we then see like, is the next movie our Empire? Is the movie after that Return of the Jedi? Is this like just that setup for, again, going back to the MCU? Is this like Thor? Is this Captain America? Is this leading into some sort of Avengers? I don't know at this point. I'm hopeful, but like, I thought it was cool for what it was, and it wasn't like the best, but like, we just talked about it for an hour, so it gave us something to hope for in the future and comment on now. So,
and Mark has already tilted into our final thoughts, which is great. So, and then I have some fun facts, and I have a couple of comments. But my final thought, and then Peter, you can go after me. My wife's comment, which I'll talk about below, and then a very long disliking rant from my best pal and network contributor, John Sear. He didn't like this film at all. About how this kind of doesn't work as a movie. And Peter, you'll appreciate this. It's a Star Trek: The Next Generation. And Peter, I feel like maybe I talked to you about this, or I talked to April a lot about it. That show ended after 7 seasons. The 7th season was pretty bad. We've talked about that over on Code 47, our Star Trek show. But while they were wrapping up, which was an exceptional final episode of that show, they were also preparing for a movie. So, we just celebrated the 32nd anniversary of that showing, just a couple of that ending just a few days ago. The film, Star Trek Generations, came out that Thanksgiving or that Christmas season. It was the end of 1994. And what they basically did is they took what was on the small screen, they slapped it on the big screen, they changed a very tiny amount of anything. Maybe now the Enterprise is a little bit more animated, but we didn't really add any new costumes. We didn't add much in way of new sets. We didn't add much in way of new characters. We gave you a villain that was kind of scary, but his motivation was kind of selfish, but he was okay. And then we killed off Captain Kirk for some reason in a way that most people hate. Peter, you were the captain on the bridge on the captain, which was always the way that you talked about it. I think it's tough, and again, April echoes this in her comment, to take a show that people are used to seeing show-like results and then putting it on the big screen and having it to be super exciting and blowing your mind, which Generations just doesn't. I've never really talked to anybody who thinks that's one of the best of the Star Trek movies. So, and again, regular Star Trek rant, I realize that, but I just feel like it's not quite there in terms of excitement, but much what Mark is talking about, it's calculated. They did it in a certain way. There are nuggets being dropped, seeds being planted, but it is definitely a paradigm shift looking at Star Wars being this big episodic, huge set pieces and big stakes and stuff, and having a smaller movie. It's an adjustment. People are going to see this, but they're not going to see it in droves. Maybe that'll change. Maybe it'll be good word of mouth, and people, we'll know in the second weekend. We'll know by the time this episode comes out what that second weekend drop looks like. Is it catastrophic, like 70%, or is it mid, like 30 to 40%, which is considered to be very normal? Peter, any final thoughts, or have we kind of swirled this around to the point that there's not much left to say?
I would say that as long as this is like a tee off to something else with these characters, I think it's a fine literal side quest. Okay. It doesn't move their main story along like at all.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
So granted, there's a couple character moments with Grogu that actually are actually useful, like giving him some agency, and that was good. But just as a general rule, it doesn't move the story along too much. Which for side quest is a good thing. You don't want to move your main story along in something that's not directly connected to everything.
In a different direction, right?
So I hope that this leads to more, because I like seeing, your classic bad guys where like we didn't see the Empire a whole lot in this. I want to see more of that. If we're going to stay in this time frame, I want to see more of that struggle because I find that interesting. But overall, I thought that it was all right. But as I said, it's just the stakes and the emotional weight just weren't there for me. For some people, it might be completely what they want. It's just I was just expecting a little bit more out of the characters and the emotional pull. So,
gotcha. All right, couple of fun facts. There's a couple about Sigourney Weaver. And my one other thing, I thought Sigourney's performance in this really didn't do it for me. She seemed more wooden than in most things I've seen her in. Like her lines seemed very by rote. She seemed very much like a paycheck player. I guess I didn't really love her in this, and I don't know why. I don't know why it really bugged me.
Until she was in the cockpit.
Until she was in the cockpit. She was, well, and it says here, by her own admission, Sigourney Weaver joined the cast because she really wanted to act on screen with Grogu. Okay. I guess it's like saying it's the 70s and you want to be on screen with Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. Peter, you might appreciate the inside baseballness, but Rada's status as a gladiator harkens back to Belladorian, a Hutt dark Jedi in Legends continuity who fought Leia Organa solo in a similar era, 13 ABY, after the Battle of Yavin, for the uninitiated.
Yeah, I believe that's
of that expanded universe, who similarly kept himself in a more muscular build by contrast of the more sedentary hulks like Jabba.
Yeah,
what was that, Peter?
That was in Dark Empire.
Oh, okay. Which we haven't got. I don't think we've gotten to that yet in our read along. Mark, we've been doing. I don't know if you've been following the show, but we've been doing read alongs of the Zahn works, but as translated in the Dark Horse comics from the late 1990s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So making it a little bit more bite-sized because I'm really bad at reading books. This is Sigourney Weaver's 5th science fiction franchise. She's, of course, been in the sagas of Alien, Ghostbusters, Galaxy Quest, and Avatar.
She just needs to add Star Trek, and she's got like all the big ones.
Oh, all the rings in the Infinity Gauntlet. Oh yeah, there you go. Of course, this is a very obvious one that's great for us Gen X kids. The small ship, the Imperial Warlord, Mr. Del Rey, attempts to escape, and near the beginning of the film is the INT-4 Interceptor, which was released, of course, in the original Kenner mini rig collection from the 1980s. That was very special for all of us who owned one, because I definitely
kind of felt like that. I had no idea that it was actually a Kenner toy from the 80s, but it definitely felt like that. It looked to me like a Scout Walker head that just had wings.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It was just bits and pieces. This was the first Star Wars film to be shot entirely in California. And I remember hearing this back in 2023. The production received a $21.8 million tax credit, one of the largest ever awarded in California, which is pretty impressive.
Nice.
And then finally, Jeremy Allen White was never directly present on set. He had recorded Rada's lines before filming began, which the other actors played off. So I guess that makes sense to get Mr. the Bear in a Star Wars movie. It would take some effort. He'd maybe have to record in a closet in his house. So, all right, couple of notes from our SFU community. Kurt Krug, who records with us all the time, said Warlug Janu Coyne, played by actor Johnny Coyne, looks like Lex Luthor or Kingpin on a weight loss plan. It didn't look like he had lost that much weight. And then I've mentioned this several times, but this was my wife April, who also records with us all the time, said that she enjoyed it. It's hard to thread the needle from a television series that already is cinematically of quality to become a movie. That it's kind of so much watching a TV show on a movie screen. And again, much like we all talked about here, I think maybe people were expecting something bigger, but quality-wise, it's not something bigger. It's just kind of, in a lot of ways, like I was describing with Star Trek Generations versus the end of TNG, kind of the same. But there are definitely parts of it that were enjoyable. But you're right, it's not the fabulous cash and prizes. But see, people were digging on it. People were absolutely digging on it. So, all right. Final thoughts, gents, or shall we take this one? Shall we punt this one home?
I think we're good.
I've said pretty much everything. I'm sure I'll be laying in bed later and wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, I wanted to talk about that. But
my God. Well, you will have to follow that up by sending an email to secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Mark, thank God you're back. We have missed you, so it's been about 6 or 9 months since you've been on the show. Please come back and spend time. Yeah, please come back and spend time with us. If it's not on this show, if you've not been following what the Secret Friends Unite show has turned into, it is really topic-based. We talk about a new show. I'm really excited this week to be talking with Screen Crush's Ryan Airy about Spider-Man Noir. He and I have been working on getting a project together to talk about, so I'm really psyched about that. And we have little bite size. We talk in 30 to 40 minutes about something new, and it's something new every week. And on the off week, sometimes Kurt and I will talk about comic books and stuff, and we'll talk about movies that come out. Like we're very excited to talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day when that comes out in a couple of months. So, but yeah, God, come back anytime. Where do people find you out there if they want to interface and talk about Star Wars? Because you're a big social media dude. Where you at?
Yeah, mostly hanging out on Instagram. I check threads every once in a while, but Canerdian _Jedi is where you can find me there. Follow along. I'm building an upgraded Mandalorian outfit, so very topical to what we've been talking about. And
yes.
I'm almost at a place where I'm feeling good about my new and upgraded armor. It's almost what I pictured from the start, but I didn't have the skills of painting or 3D printing or putting together anything when I started 3 years ago. And now I feel like I'm a little bit better. So
Nice.
My wife is really into quilting right now, and it's kind of the same thing. She's going through and screwing it up and starting over again and screwing that up and starting over a third time. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we will have that link in the show notes so people can check you out on Instagram. Peter, where do people find you?
Well, you can find me around the interwebs at Petrus Aquinas on most social media. I do not say much, but if you poke at me and say, hey, I want to yell at you for a Mando opinion or talk about Thrawn, I will respond. So you can find me on our Discord as well. You can also find me over on ELH's Twitch, YouTube, all of that, where we do role-playing games. And you can find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior.
Excellent. And I run the Secret Friends Unite social medias. We do everything except for X and TikTok. That's not really for us. But also my personal socials are at the C3 THECEETHREE. You'll see me jumping on and doing my little kitchen chats where I'm covering stuff in 3 minutes or less that I don't get into the main show. But also, as I mentioned off the top, please pop over to patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Even sign up for our free feed. It just lets you know when we have programming dropping, but you can also try and listen to content for that first week for free, half off that first month, and then stay on board for as little as $2 a month. We would love to have you. If you'd love to tell us how you felt about The Mandalorian, drop us a note on any of those socials. Also, secretfriendsunite@gmail.com if you want to get a little long form. And Peter and I might read that on a follow-up program. But with that, friends, thank you for tuning in. I want to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the Force be with you.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.